Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. Through this channel I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. So if anybody's not aware of this is a journey with investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategy called compound return investing. So the objective is try to get 201 trades, each with an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In today's video, we're going to be looking at MMTLP and another update in the $8 class action against Nexbridge Hydrocarbons with another motion to dismiss. So before we get started, we're also going to be looking at SMCI, and the question is, should you buy the dip? And breaking news just coming through with regard to Microsoft earnings, which I'm going to be sharing with you shortly. So before we get started, let's have a look at what's happening in the market. So from Market Watch, we can see, first of all, October jobs forecast has been shaved to 110,000 after the Boeing strike and also the hurricanes. And then we can see here from Market Watch, DJT shares tumble on pace for the largest percentage decrease in 6 months. So that's after a staggering run that we've seen so far. So it could be just a case of a little bit of consolidation. And now let's move on to Yahoo Finance. And what we can see here is Microsoft is to announce the fiscal Q1 earnings as AI revenue remains top of the mind. So let's have a look at the breaking news. And what I can share with you is earnings just come through now. Sales for Microsoft $65.6 billion versus an estimated $64.4 billion. So that's a beat. And earnings per share $303.30 per share versus an estimated $3.10 per share. So great news there from Microsoft. And the instant reaction here, we can see rising in the post market, currently up 1.77%, and I do expect more. Let's have a look at ticker symbol SMCI, also known as Super Micro Computer. And when the news broke in, we shared this in our Stock Dip Alerts channel with regard to SMCI, and there was news with regard to a filing, and we shared in our Discord when it went down approximately 19%. It's gone down further, and what I stated here is Super Micro Computer's independent auditor Ernst & Young resigns over governance and transparency concerns, citing doubts on the board's integrity and reliability of financial statements. So that is the key concern. The board forms a special committee with Cooley LLP and secretaries advisors for an ongoing review. So the potential question here is the financial figures are being questioned, so we don't know if there is anything there to be added. And what we can see here, another thing, if we have a look at the history, the SMCI joined the S&P 500 in March 2024. Since then, it's down 70% after these serious allegations. There is also an ongoing DOJ investigation, and its auditor has now quit. So if we do a fun fact and comparison, Enron was also part of the S&P 500 and was replaced by Nvidia in 2021. So we're not going to see a similar thing there, but there are certainly questions here. So if we have a look at the chart at time of editing, it's down 32.46%. I think it's going down even more after in the post market at $33.17. So the question is, do you buy the dip? So one more thing I'd like to share with you is a statement here from Nvidia, which I think is quite interesting. And in the most recent earnings report, Nvidia included a new and rather suspicious disclosure. And we can see here our management, including the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Financial Officer, do not expect that our disclosure controls and procedures of our internal accounts will prevent all error and all fraud. So it looks like they are putting the information out there before there are any questions. So far, I think Nvidia is a little bit down today, but it's looking like they are preparing for any bad news. But I don't expect any bad news, but this is just a case of avoiding any jitters. In terms of SMCI, I know it's trading around about $33. In my opinion, I think it could go below the $30, and I think I'll potentially look at buying it if it gets closer to $25. Before we look at John Brda's response to the class action, shout out here to Harry, who stated, "Dear regulators," tagging in the SEC and FINRA, "it's now been 691 days since the MMTLP U3 trading halt on December the 9th, 2022. What information action do you now need that was not available for the past 22 months, and close out the shorts and eliminate the fail to delivers? Are the findings that at least troublesome that the allocation of the Nextbridge Hydrocarbon shares that TradeStation was granted is insufficient to meet the number of shareholder requests to move their shares to the transfer agent? So we're tagging in Devin Nunes there, and let's now move on to have a look at the update in terms of the new class action. So previously we looked at the one response from George Balicaro, so we're now looking at the one a response from John Brda, and this is a United States District Court for the Northern District of Texas and Fort Worth Division. So this is Tagger and other plaintiffs versus Nextbridge Hydrocarbons, and this is a response from John Brda, who is the defendant in this situation, and he's adding in a support of motion to dismiss. So he's filing this brief in support of the motion to dismiss the plaintiff's amended complaint file for failure to state a claim. So that's the key thing. I think if we have a look at what in terms of the introduction, the plaintiff seeks to represent a class of persons that purport to have acquired shares in Nextbridge Hydrocarbons in connection with the spin-off of Meta Materials. Unlike every other individual defendant, Mr. Brda was never an officer or director of Nextbridge Hydrocarbons. He was an officer of the company that preceded Meta, Torchlight Energy Resources. So remember, this is a statement from John Brda. He never had inside information. The inside information was from the Meta board. So that's the key difference between him and George Palicaros. So the plaintiff's lack of standing because they did not purchase, and therefore there was no consideration paid for the Nextbridge Hydrocarbon shares. So in other words, what we're saying here is there was no financial loss proven because they were OG holders. And it goes on to say the plaintiffs purchased shares of preferred stock of Meta in the aftermarket, with most of their shares acquired before July the 14th, 2022, and they do not allege that Mr. Brda is responsible in any way for the various drafts of the registration statement and prospectus. I think it would be foolish for them to imply that, because obviously that was the Meta board and FINRA. They allege that he only had authority over Torchlight filings, and Mr. Brda does not qualify as a seller. So that's the other statement there. And if we move on to look at that section 3, arguments and authorities, the plaintiff's claims against Brda fails for numerous independent reasons. First, the plaintiff's lack of statutory standing to bring a claim under the section 12A part 2 of the Securities Act. And second, it fails to allege that Mr. Brda is a statutory seller, i.e. potentially even a broker. And third, the 1-year statute of limitation bars the plaintiffs under section 12A part 2 claim against Brda. So obviously, because this is not a fraud claim, the statute of limitations, what Mr. Brda is stating is lower, and that is 1 year. So part A, the plaintiffs lack statutory standing to assert section 12A part 2 claim because they did not purchase the Nextbridge Hydrocarbon shares, so there was no financial loss, especially if they did not buy the shares. And then it goes on to say January 3rd, 2022, a punitive securities class action was filed against Mr. Brda and other defendants. I think that would be a different case, and the pleading has numerous allegations that Mr. Brda, especially when coupled with the subsequent Meta filings below, would constitute storm warnings related to alleged false and misleading statements in connection with Torchlight's merger with Meta. So these are the allegations, and that the acquired oil and gas assets were valued at $72.6 million at closing. And again, in terms of valuation, all of that would have been in the S1. Second, May the 12th, 2023, Meta announced in its 10Q that it received a subpoena from the SEC. Again, we also know that, and related to the merger involving Torchlight and Meta Materials, and I believe that is still ongoing. And third, Meta announced its Form 8K that Mr. Brda also received the Wells notice related to the merger involving Torchlight and Meta Materials. And then if we have a look at the final part here, last, in order for Mr. Brda to have directly communicated and successfully solicited plaintiff's purchase of any security as is required to constitute a statutory seller. So having looked at all this, I think it certainly looks like the plaintiffs do not have a strong case, and the plaintiff's section 12A part 2 claim against Brda should be dismissed as a matter of law because it is time barred. And that's one of the things that Scott is trying to avoid with his claim. And we'll have a look at the relief requested under section 4. For the foregoing reasons, the defendant John Brda respectfully requests the court dismiss the sole claim asserted against him in this particular lawsuit. So it looks like it's going to be another round of this, and I don't expect the judge to hold in favour of the plaintiffs. Finally, if you'd like to join us on our Discord and get live breaking news and also stock alerts, today we called out ticker symbol THAR with positive news from the FDA, and at that time the stock went up close to 158%. And in our live trading and data alert section, the news was also shared here with regard to the phase 2 trial data. So if you would like to get all these alerts live to enable you to make your own trading decisions, details are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.